Hello, my wonderful friends on Marriage Without Tears channel. We are here again to discuss another interesting topic. How to know when to quit your marriage if you have to. Quitting a marriage is one of the most daunting tasks a couple can ever try to engage in, because this is a relationship where you have invested all, emotionally, physically, psychologically, spiritually, mentally. Every investment has gone into that relationship. You have been trying all you can to build that relationship, but for one reason or the other, things are getting out of hand. It appears as if all the visions and dreams you had concerning that relationship is about to be thrown to the dustbin. You are at that critical moment when you are trying to make a decision whether to check out of the relationship or to continue. This is an opportunity for us to interact. This is an opportunity for us to look deeper into whatever is happening in your relationship. Once again, my name is Felix Okeke. I am your marriage counselor and coach, and I welcome you to this edition. I want to let you know that a whole lot of couples have thrown in the towel. They have aborted their marital dreams and visions on the altar of very flimsy excuses. Things that they could have worked on, they left too soon. As a matter of fact, there are always changes and dynamics that are changing in a relationship as the relationship is going on through the years. So there is a need for us to sit back and look at the problems or the challenges you are facing and be able to see whether it is something that is capable of making you to walk away from it, or something you can, grow, experience and grow through them. That's why we have to look at your, challenges from two perspectives. I want you to take note. There is a perspective that we call growing pains in a relationship. Growing pains in a relationship are those areas of your relationship or challenges in your relationship that are there. It's like an exam, a test that has been set that you need to pass through. It's like a hole, a deep alley in your relationship. It's like a valley in your relationship, something you have to pass through in order to climb to the mountaintop. Those are what we call the growing pains in the relationship. And you should not throw in the towel when you are going through growing pains. What do we call growing pains? Growing pains are things like communication problems in your marriage. Possibly your husband or your wife that does not communicate, that is used to quality communication, suddenly becomes an introvert, suddenly recoils into his or her shell, suddenly is no longer forthcoming in terms of communicating with you. These are growing pains. There may be situations that have caused that to happen, which you need to work upon and get back that your spouse to the original being which he or she is. These are growing pains. Then, of course, a growing pain could be a husband or a wife that went into an unfaithful relationship, an infidel, a kind of infidelity or cheating. These can be termed growing pains, because if it happens that that person becomes remorseful and you are able to forgive and you are able to warm back together again, you can still grow out of it and your relationship can become better for it in future. These are growing pains. Growing pains could be something like your husband does not go to church or does not go to mosque. Probably you are the only one that is going, and you have been trying all you can to draw him. And he's, I can tell you that person can change over a period of time. All he needs for you to do is to be patient enough to continue to work on him or her until something happens on the inside and he joins you in your newfound faith. These are growing pains. Growing pains could be something like the man is not providing enough, even though he is qualified to do that, but he doesn't have a job. And he has been going up and down looking for a job, and it appears as if the poverty level in the home is becoming deeper and deeper. The home is sinking into poverty, and a whole lot of things are beginning to happen. These are growing pains, because something can change. The man gets a job, begins to take care of his family, and then you get out of the poverty situation. These are growing pains. Growing pains can be something like the woman, she doesn't have a job that she's doing. She's lazying at home. She's gossiping. She's doing this. These things can change if you are able to invest in her to be trained in a particular skill that after the training, she goes ahead to practice that which she trained in. She may no longer have that time to gossip around. She becomes more productive as a wife. These are growing pains. These are pains that are not, supposed to make you to drop your relationship and walk away. No, these are areas you need to tackle. As you are tackling that area, you will see success. You will see joy. You will see, faith come into your relationship. So relationships must not be allowed to go down the drain because of growing pains. You understand what I'm saying? On the other hand, there is what we call deal breakers in marriage. That area where you just can't accept it. And there's no way out. There's no solution to it. I will give you a few examples. You come into a marriage and you discover that instead of your wife or your husband being with you, she prefers being with people of her own kind, like she's a lesbian or he's a homosexual. And every sexual activity between both of you is a struggle because he prefers to sleep with men of his own kind. He's a gay, or the woman is a gay. She's a lesbian. She prefers to sleep with women. Such things can be deal breakers. Things that you say, no, I can't have my wife, I can't have my husband sleeping with men of his own type when I'm there as a woman. I can't have it. These are deal breakers that can make a marriage to go down, that you can comfortably walk away from such a vow. Another deal breaker is possibly the wife simply doesn't want to have children. While the man is very eager to have children, the woman does not want to have children. Possibly she have had one or two from a previous relationship and she's okay with that. And the man is very desirous of having kids coming from her, but she doesn't want it. It can become a deal breaker. It can become something, for people like us who desire children in our own relationships, I can't afford to have a woman who says, I don't want to have children. So those are deal breakers in a relationship. Deal breakers are those areas where you know very well that, it cannot be allowed to continue. For instance, if a man is beating his wife every day and you discover that your life is threatened as a woman or even as a man, because I have seen women who carry guns and they are looking for their husbands here and there, and the man is running away from his own spouse. If that relationship has gone to that level where life is threatened, it is a deal breaker. That is what we call deal breakers. You must understand the difference between deal breakers and growing pains. Deal breakers are those areas where you can't find a compromise. You can't find a compromise. If a marriage is ruled by fear, I once heard a story about a woman who waited for her husband to sleep off. And while the man was sleeping, she went into the kitchen, picked a pestle, those heavy ones that you use to pound yam. She picked that pestle and hit the man's head and blew his skull to pieces on the bed. I've seen things like that. I have heard stories like that. These are deal breakers. When life is threatened in a relationship, it's a deal breaker. So you must weigh the challenge you are having in your relationship. Is it a deal breaker or is it a growing pain? If it is a deal breaker, then you have every audacity to walk away. But if it is growing pains, I will appeal to you to sit back and do whatever you can to come out of that situation. You can do it. Once again, my name is Felix Okeke, and if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please look at this red button by my side, click on it and get subscribed. And in the next segment, I will tell you what you need to do in order to come out of that ugly situation. Now, what do you need to do in order to come out of the ugly situation where you are in now? The very first thing I must advise is patience. You need a whole lot of patience. You need to weather the storm, and it needs a whole lot of patience, a lot of sacrifice and commitment. Be more reconnected with your spouse. Begin to develop areas, patiently, areas where you can get reconnected again. There were things you were doing when these things, all the challenges were not there. There were things you were doing then that created a lot of intimacy and harmony in your relationship. Begin to redo them again. This is what I mean. But you must be patient enough to weather the storm. And in being patient, it has to be accompanied with prayerfulness. You must be a person of prayer. Learn to intercede for your husband. Learn to intercede for your wife. Learn to bring them before God's presence. Whether you like it or not, God is the one that joined both of you together, and you must be able to bring your relationship onto Him, especially in these trying moments. I remember something that happened to me a whole lot of years ago, more than 3 decades ago. I was in a very bitter confrontation with my wife, and at a point in time, I stormed out of the house, picked my bag and stormed out of the house. I was actually trying to keep an appointment. And then way down the road, I felt within myself that I didn't do the right thing. And with that anger in me, if I meet the person I was going to meet, it may not augur well with me. So I turned around. I wanted to come back to the house and seek her, talk to her a little bit calmly. But on getting closer to the door, I discovered that my wife was praying. I listened for a while, and I discovered that she was actually praying for me. Wow. This is a person I was almost beaten up. This is a person I was very angry with. Praying for me? Wow. I think that changed the whole perception. I came into the house and tears came out of my eyes. I heard her. She was even surprised to see me back. She thought I had come to fight. I held her in my arms, and it was another story altogether. So learn to pray for your spouse. Be patient enough to pray for your spouse. He or she wasn't that way from the beginning. And if something has happened in the relationship over a period of time, then it is time for you to begin to intercede for one another, patiently waiting on God, so that a better testimony shall come out of that predicament. Very, very important. The second thing you need, like I always say, is you need a support network. You need people who are positive-minded, people who are objective enough to give you the right counsel, because at least it will make you realize that you are not alone, that other people are facing what you are facing. Because when you are ignorant of these things, you may feel that you are the one that is facing all the things alone, but you don't know really that some other neighbors or some other friend is even having a harsher challenge around him or her. That when you share these things, they say a problem shared is a problem half solved. So have a support network. Could be your wonderful friends, especially those who are objective enough to understand how to give wise counsel. Share some problems out there. Share your problem with your parents if they are objective ones, but better still, share it with people who you actually understand their marriages and relationships, and whom you can vouch for the peace in their homes. They are very important, especially if you cannot get hold of a counselor. But if you can get hold of a marriage counselor, better for it. Very important, because he or she will help you to come out of that situation quicker than you think. Very, very important. And then the third thing you need to do, whenever you want to take a decision such as this, is learn to reflect on your future. What will the future be like if I take the decision? Because I have seen people who regretted their divorce so much that their life after that decision became very terrible. It was marred in all manner of anger, frustration, agony after the divorce. So you may think that the grass will be greener on the other side, but it's not always so. Because come to think of it, a whole lot of women out there who are not married yet have a better chance of landing a spouse more than you that is already married and having about 2 or 3 children, and you are coming out of your home. So think deeper. What will the future be like if I step out of this relationship? As a man, what will the future be like if I find myself, having to take care of all these children and their mother is no longer there? How do I work it out? What will the future be like? If I marry a new wife into my family, will she be able to look after the children that this woman is going to leave behind for me? There are things you must think, reason in that way. What will the future be like? You must not take an immediate decision and turn your back on your future, because the future is very important. Very, very important. And of course, finally, I want you to know that whatever decision you are taking after this very particular edition, please do it with a mind to a mind of peace. Peace is very, very important. If the decision you're about to take now does not give you peace of mind, or if you find yourself making an important decision because of a growing pain, you remember, because of a growing pain, please think again. Think again. But if you are making that decision because of a deal breaker in your marriage, your guess is as good as mine. Once again, I thank you for taking our time to watch this edition. Please look at this red button by my side. Click on it and get subscribed. And I would love to see you again next week. Have a wonderful time.